We're back.
Welcome back, Active TV.
We're here. My name's Alex,
And I'm Ryan.
and we have a guest. His name's Nick. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate you being here, Nick. Who are you, and what do you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's a quick intro?
When you throw that question, "Who are you?" at me, it's like you get really
It's
deep, get really
existential.
philosophical. Yeah, it's very existential the way you said it at first. I was like, "Sure, get deep here,"
Well,
but
you're trying to change the nutrition game. So, like, who are you? What are you about, brother?
that's the big thing. Yeah, I would start with I'm a longtime runner. Been running since freshman year of high school, training competitively for over 10 years, and have just really become passionate about fitness, health, moving your body, and all of the positive power that comes with that. And so a few years ago, I started using pre-workout supplements to improve my own performance. Found a lot of flaws within pre-workout and thought to myself, okay, this can become a better product. Let's find a way to improve upon this. That led me into this larger world of sports nutrition. From there, noticed a lot of other problems and other categories of products, and that's where I'm at now, where I'm building Enerza, a sport nutrition company, mainly tailored towards endurance athletes, so thinking runners, cyclists, triathletes, and trying to build the most healthy, effective, and safe products for those athletes.
I love that. I would say you're touching, Nick, on a theme that is very pervasive across, like, what we're doing with this active community is connecting with people who are trying to elevate the industry, right? You're trying to say, what you're literally doing is saying, hey, the stuff that's out there, it's not good enough. We can do better. And that's what I love to see.
It's so cool, and a great summation, brother. I mean, that's what we're. That question might have felt big and philosophical, but that's what you're doing. You're trying to change the game, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Love that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys.
Can I ask one question about just honing in on something you said there?
Yep.
You said the power of moving your body and the power that's like held in training and that self-improvement piece. I've made essentially a career out of helping people, achieve those goals. Tell me about what that means to you, that power that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, so on the surface level, incredible for just physical health, right? It keeps me in a good shape. You know, antioxidants, serotonin, all that stuff. Whatever you want to talk about, it's great physically. But for me, I think it does a lot for me mentally and just structurally within my life. Running gives me a lot of structure. It helps me stay disciplined. Um, and I would say like it just gives me energy. A lot of people would think that going out for a 20-mile run in the morning would make you feel really tired and really drain you the rest of the day, be sitting around the house. And depending on what shape you're in, certainly could. But for me, it just gives me a lot of energy. And when I don't get those runs in, I feel more drained than if I were to have went out and moved. So it just sets up my day properly when I start my day with movement.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And, even to piggyback on that, something that, comes up in my mind a lot as I tend to think deeply about this world is it more important to be strong or to feel strong? Right. So, Nick, just like you said, I could be, there have been times in my running career where I'm going out on, 20-mile long runs and doing that whole thing. Right now where I'm at is, like a 4 mile just cruising and not even close to what a competitive runner or a marathoner, like a, high level marathoner is doing. But the feeling that I get, I can have an experience and we could have very similar experiences, Nick. Me going out on a 4 mile run right now, you going out on a 20-mile run, and you get that energy. You get that almost spiritual experience from going out and doing that. I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because I'm in the 4 mile bucket as well. I'm trying to just get through a cool 5K, but I can definitely appreciate where you're coming from, Nick, of like the routine and the fact that you're able to do it gives you more energy and more motivation to keep doing it. I love hearing that.
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, I love that you guys are talking about this feeling, right? Because I actually coach a couple athletes on the side, and while their training on like a numbers perspective might look very different than mine, all of the same structure still applies. We base the training off of how are you feeling? How are we going to adjust based off of that? And all of the same principles apply for my 100-mile weeks and the training weeks of 30 miles that I'm giving. It's based on, are you feeling strong? Are you feeling recovered? All of those same foundational principles of training still apply. And so I think feeling is the biggest thing that I go off of in coaching. So I love the fact that you talk about feeling as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you do have a running career under your belt. Can you
I'm in a
tell
weird
us?
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in a weird space where I'm far away from being the furthest thing from being a signed Nike professional athlete, right? Like I'm not a professional runner by any means, but I can still show up to a pretty big marathon and go out and place in the top three and take home a sizable check. So it's weird where like if I were a basketball player or a baseball player, right? Like I'd be like a minor league type player. There's just not really that classification for running.
Yeah, you're a very good amateur runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a good amateur. Yeah,
I
it's the
mean,
best way to put it. Yeah.
and did you run in college or anything like that?
Yeah, so I walked onto the team at Ohio State University and
Oh,
then ran
Buckeye.
my grad years at Lipscomb University in Nashville.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's very neat. Walk on. That's huge. That means you knew you had it in it. You knew you had it in you, and no one else recognized it, brother. That's awesome. What did you study while you were at school?
Business through and through.
Okay, nice, nice. How does your business brain and your running career kind of intersect? How did that help bring you to Enerza, or how does that help perpetuate Enerza?
I think it's just combining two passions, right? So very interested in business, entrepreneurship, and then for the longest time, I've had this strong passion for running. And so I've just found now with Enerza this great intersection where I get to combine the two of them. And even like my running career kind of overlaps with Enerza. I'm going out and running and Enerza singlet. When I go to these races, I can hand out Enerza and do some promo while I'm there. So like the worlds are very much blending together now, which is really cool.
That's great. What events did you run? Were you like a cross country, like middle distance runner at Ohio State, or what'd you do there?
Yeah, I would say I would classify myself as a miler for the longest time up until about
Mhm.
this past year. Thing is you have 17-year-olds running 3:53 in the mile now.
That's crazy.
I would never be able to keep up. So I bumped up in distance. Now I'm dabbling in everything from 10Ks to marathons.
Nice. And do you have any races coming up that you're training for?
Yes, sir. Boston Marathon on Monday.
Oh my gosh, let's go. That's
I'm
incredible.
pumped. It's gonna be
First
my
one?
first one.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
all
Yeah, I'm
right.
excited.
Yeah, a little Heartbreak Hill, like ready to rock and roll.
I've historically been terrible on hills, so we're gonna see how that goes.
It's just a bump. It's fine.
I'm gonna run that mile right before Heartbreak Hill a little bit easier, like try to get like a little rebound in energy. That way I'm ready for it.
I love it, man. That's so exciting. Good luck in Boston. That's wonderful.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah.
I think you should, if you don't mind, touch on the last marathon you ran and the business implications it had for what you're up to.
Yeah. So, no, I mentioned that I can go out to some pretty big marathons and race for prize money. And so last weekend, I went out to the Knoxville Marathon and was able to take second place while still keeping it relatively controlled because it's really close to Boston. It was about 2 weeks' time in between those two marathons. So wanted to keep it controlled, not go 100%, but still give it a decent effort. And like I said, was able to get second place, and that got me some good prize money. And what I'm doing with my racing right now is any prize money that I make from running, I'm just putting right back into the business. I'm just treating it like funding. That way I can put it toward the next deposit on the new product or put it into marketing, whatever it might be. like I said, those worlds are overlapping, so it makes sense that that prize money should go to Enerza.
And I think it's very cool, Nick. Like I really appreciate founders and people who are like really in their industry, meaning like you're a runner, like you're a user of your product. I think there's a lot of great products that have been developed based on necessity and like, hey, I'm the target user for this product. Um, let's make it. You know what I mean? I think that's very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Did it take you discovering and trying other pre-workouts to understand that they weren't for you, or did you just kind of have an understanding of there's something that can be better out there?
It was a lot of caffeinated products in general that I was using. I just found that like I'm a very anxious racer. I already have a lot of pre-race anxiety. So I remember using C4's product back in the day, which I'm sure had well over 200 milligrams of caffeine. I would drink coffee. I would try a bunch of different things. And it would just have me feeling way too jittery and way too anxious before I got to the starting line. And so one of the things with Enerza is that it uses L-theanine, which is what's found in green tea leaves. It works synergistically with caffeine. And also the caffeine in Enerza is just at a more lower dosage that's optimal for endurance training. But because that L-theanine works synergistically with it, I never experience any sort of jitters or anything that has me feeling like I'm bouncing off the walls or feeling that like sort of caffeine anxiety, which has just been like a huge difference for me. I'd say that's one of the biggest problems that I did face that I will no longer have to deal with again.
That's amazing. Just for a primer, Nick, do you mind giving us, the elevator pitch on Enerza? Can you tell our audience about it and, what's the like ethos around Enerza, which is a running or endurance sport specific pre-workout? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's a good summation. I'll give like two, if that's all right. The
Yep.
1.0 and the 2.0.
Let's go.
So the 1.0 for since our launch, we've just had pre-workouts. So that pitch is that we took a product that was traditionally made for lifting and we re-engineered it for endurance athletes. And we made, that change that I spoke about with the L-theanine and the caffeine dosage. We tailored all of the ingredients. We added electrolytes, everything about it tailored to the endurance athlete. So that's kind of version 1.0 is with that pre-workout. 2.0 is a little bit more complicated of an answer. So in working with a pre-workout mix, it uses a lot of ingredients that are sort of on the forefront of sport nutrition. There's a lot of emerging studies. There's new studies coming out every day about what these ingredients do, how effective they are, what dosage levels they should be in. And so that's kind of where these pre-workout mixes use like those emerging kind of ingredients. On the other hand, in sport nutrition, there's a lot of products that rely on the foundations of fueling. Think, you know, carb ratios, how much protein you should be getting, thinking in the macronutrients. Maybe they get a little innovative with electrolytes. And they rely on very sound, proven science. Version 2.0 of Enerza is taking sort of the innovation and forefront of like using the latest and greatest kind of forefront ingredients that would be more used in this pre-workout world and combining that with the foundations of endurance fueling and occupying that middle space that I don't think any company has truly occupied before. So sort of like taking some risks with some more innovative, less proven ingredients that are very promising and also utilizing that foundation and meeting in the middle. You can tell I haven't really developed it into an elevator condensed pitch yet. I'm still figuring out the wording. It's sort of a new concept for me. So,
Well, I just love to hear what gets you excited about your product. I think there's definitely a vacuum and a space to be filled with these new emerging, these new emerging pieces that make up your product. So that's very cool to hear about.
thank
Yeah.
you.
How do you stay up to date on all this? Do you have like a partner who's helping you with the research? Do you have just like a a set couple studies that you're kind of focused on? What keeps you up to date?
So one, I'm a nerd, so I'm just always looking up new PubMed articles, looking up um, new ingredients that are coming out being studied. Also, just really keeping an eye on the market, what other companies are using, and trying to stay on the forefront of everything that's coming out. But then the second piece of it is I'm working with I'm a registered dietitian now. She's got her master's in sport nutrition, and she's really helping with both vetting all of those studies and vetting all of those new ingredients, making sure that they're safe, um, looking at potential side effects, looking at potential interactions with other ingredients, really just making sure all of our bases are covered. And then also making sure that we have those foundational principles and that the product is strong, even if all of those other innovative ingredients 5 years from now, if studies were to come out saying, hey, they actually aren't that effective, we would still have such a strong foundation that we know our product works as advertised.
I love that you have a registered dietitian on staff that you're working with. I think the nutrition space is very interesting because in theory, to say that you're a practitioner in the wellness space or in the nutrition space, the barrier to entry is pretty low. Anybody can, pop up an Instagram and say, hey, I'm a nutrition expert and this is what you should do.
Yeah.
That title of registered dietitian, I think, is very important. And I work closely with registered dietitians. And so, yeah, I think that's wonderful. Very cool that
Thank you.
you're upholding that like level of scrutiny.
I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to find many pre-workout companies out there with an RD on staff.
No kidding.
Really?
Probably not a lot of them.
Interesting.
Hmm.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, good for you for kind of pigeonholing yourself in a good way.
Yep, that's very cool. Nick, as I think about, I've done some like 50K distances, half marathon. I've never run a road marathon because I'm terrified of it, but um the traditional thought process on fueling, say your average runner doesn't, the mind doesn't go straight to pre-workout, right? You're
Yeah.
like, on a hydrate, you probably have electrolytes on the mind. You probably have water and like carbs on the mind. Tell me, like, where does like the pre-workout piece fit in? And I can almost visualize it pretty well for some of the really long, 100 milers, right? Where you're running overnight and it's very common to supplement, say, caffeine. Maybe that's not the best thing to be supplementing, but just tell me like where this fits in on the, running side. I think this is so cool.
Totally. So it's a pre-workout supplement, and the emphasis goes on supplements. It's supplemental. So you bring up a great point that your mind goes first to electrolytes, carbohydrates, right? This is the foundation of fueling. Those are the boxes that you 100% have to check. The current Enerza pre-workout mix occupies that space of that extra performance boost.
Nice.
It's not
Okay.
the foundation. You shouldn't be cutting out your carbohydrates, your electrolytes, even though Enerza actually, the pre-workout formula has some electrolytes in it. Um, but it is a supplement. So it's not like you should cut out the carb mix. It's not like you can not take your gels anymore. But it's going to help get that extra pep in your step. It's going to help with hydration. There's some adaptogenic ingredients in there that help with focus, amino acids that help with blood flow, an ingredient that helps with ATP production. That works at like even at the cellular energy level.
Yep.
I could really nerd out and talk for minutes and minutes about.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So it's really meant to kind of be an all-around endurance enhancer from the supplement side. So I would say, whereas I said it's not supposed to replace your carbohydrate mix or your gels or anything like that. Let's say you're somebody who likes to drink a Celsius before you run, or you
Yep.
like to down a couple shots of espresso. Like we can replace that and we can make that so much better. Like just try a Nerza instead of the Celsius next time you run and see how much better you feel. You won't regret it.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm very excited to try it myself. You've got me sold. I'm gonna have to get online and buy some Enerza.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think this sounds very fun to check out for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to change the mindset of like, hey, no need to go crush a Red Bull to like go get hyped for your run. Here's a way to smart here's a smart way to properly prepare for your run that's actually going to improve your run.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Improve the run itself. What's cool. I'm gonna go on like a slight tangent that you were like we're kind of talking about it, but um, we use this ingredient called L-glutamine in the pre-workout mix, and now more and more studies are coming out. Glutamine's a hot topic right now in sport nutrition about how it can help with post-run recovery and preventing, sort of like muscular damage while you're running and doing these intense workouts. And it's really cool because it's kind of becoming cemented and like it's kind of becoming much more concrete now. We were using glutamine 2 years ago, um, back when it was kind of in, not as concrete, right? And so, yeah, that was a total tangent. Something you said made me think of it, but like, yeah, it's kind of like covering a lot of different bases from like hydration to energy to even like post workout recovery. It's meant to kind of be all around.
Yeah. Have you dipped much into? I see a really interesting niche for this product, like I said, in those longer ultra marathons, right, where you're running overnight. Caffeine is massively consumed in those situations. Have you had many ultra marathoners use the product, and like, if so, what type of feedback have you gotten?
To my knowledge, three so far, which is a start. And there are people that I've been able to have conversations and get that validation from. Um, I don't know much more past that. And these are just like people that I know personally that are using the product and have enjoyed it for ultra marathons. But I've definitely seen it as an emerging market and somewhere where the product is super useful. And that's part of the reason that I'm going to be moving out to Boulder, Colorado soon, is there's a really large trail running community out there. And so I want to be able to connect with more people in that community. And I think the cool thing about trail runners is it's very tight knit. And so if it starts to pick up with some people, I definitely see the power of like word of mouth and it's spreading like wildfire. So I want to try to tap into that when I move out to Colorado and expand that there.
That's very cool. I'm really interested to see how that expands for you, because yeah, I'm in the same boat, Nick. I think there's some cool space to occupy there.
100%. Have you followed like the Speed Project?
Say that again.
Have you heard of the Speed Project?
Speed project. I don't know. I
No.
haven't. No.
So I would say look it up later. It's this sort of new format of the ultra type race. It's where people run from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, either themselves covering over 300 miles or they do it in a relay form. And multiple people have used it for the Speed Project at this point.
Very cool. Okay.
Very cool race.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that sounds kind of like the Hood to Coast, but
A little bit further.
yeah, like in the desert version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's badass. It's very desert. Not a lot going
That's
on out there. Very hot, very dry.
Yeah, my gosh. Um, when you design these products, I know you've mentioned like high endurance athletes. Are you designing these products, or when you design something new for Enerza, is it for just those high level athletes in mind, or are you trying to kind of cover all the bases for like a product that everyone can kind of an entry level, if you will?
Totally. Yeah, I want it to work just as well for somebody who's training for their first 5K as somebody who's running in the Olympics. I think, that, like I said earlier, when I'm coaching, the way I structure my training and the way I structure somebody who's just starting to run training, the same principles apply. And that translates over from training to fueling as well. You're still going to need carbohydrates. You're still going to need electrolytes. These ingredients can work the same way. Now, there's subtle differences. Somebody might burn carbohydrates a different way depending on what zone you're running in. I don't really feel fully qualified to speak on all of those subjects and say anything concretely. I'll leave that. I'll leave that to Amelia, who's got her master's in sport nutrition. But I definitely know that there are some subtle differences, but the overall principles apply regardless of the level that you're at.
That's cool. Can you tell me a little bit about just bringing a nutrition product to market? And I think this probably dips into the state of, the supplement industry in general. I mean, Nick, I'm just going to come out and say it, and you can feel free to push back on this, but I think there's been times when there's a little bit of distrust, like on the supplement industry side. And I've even seen, I can't even remember, but even in the last couple years, there's been a couple of running specific gels, right? That it's come out and they've got tested and they're like, oh, they don't have actually in it what's in it. Can you talk about like what your stance on that is? Like, where do you fit there? And maybe talk about how these products in general come to market.
Yeah, 100%. So let's kind of talk about the trust aspect first. So yeah, you mentioned the gel incident. That was a big one. There's also been instances of people failing drug tests because of contaminations within the manufacturing process of different sports supplements. On top of that, you've had historically these products have had stuff like Red 40 or various ingredients that they're phasing out now, but there used to just be a hodgepodge of artificial flavors, colors, preservatives. So a lot of different factors playing into the overall distress. The way I approach it, to start, when we first launched, we went with this company, Informed Sports, to basically do a certification of our flagship product to make sure that everything was exactly as it was advertised. There was no contaminations, everything was dosed at the proper levels, and they would do blind tests of the product throughout its life cycle, which was fantastic because it gave us 100% peace of mind. But we found quickly that being such a small scale player at this stage, we just couldn't afford it. So we did that for a year. Now that we've done that, and the manufacturer that we work with has passed their tests internally, we know that we have a safe system to produce the product. We want to be able to scale to where we can get that logo on our packaging again and also give athletes that 100% ease of mind. But we have it to the point now where I feel good enough that, I was still being drug tested, taking the product. And I have a high level of trust in the amount of safety that we're delivering. And especially when you look at our label, you'll see how clean that label is. It's not like a hodgepodge of all these ingredients that you don't know how to pronounce. So that's kind of on like the trust side, right? I think having a really transparent label is a huge piece of it. What was the second part of that question?
How the products are brought to market. By the way, that's an awesome answer. And
Okay.
I think it's really cool that, even as a startup, you're like, hey, we got to invest, even though it's tight, we got to invest in this, at least make sure our process is solid, really dial this in, come back to it later, keep testing. I mean, I think that's really admirable.
Thank you.
I think our audience would be really interested to hear how these products get brought to market. How are they created? You already talked about some of the testing in terms of the quality of the mixtures and the ingredients and whatnot. But yeah, tell us about what it's like bringing a nutrition supplement product to market.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a formula for a powdered blend and you know what ingredients you want in your products tomorrow, you could contact a supplement manufacturer and probably bring it to life within the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Wow.
So low barrier to entry, there really is. You could bring that to life. Um, and I would say there's multiple ways to do it, right? So I have a buddy, Joe, who you've met, Alex, at this point, who makes chia seed based gels out of a commercial kitchen. So he's doing it the handmade route. We started our prototypes as being handmade and hand mixed, but then we moved to a co-packer. So there's so many different ways to do it. But I think overall, the barrier to entry is very low. If you find a problem and you figure out a way to solve it, you can bring it to life, which I think is a really cool piece of the nutrition industry. Cliff Bar was started in the founder's kitchen. Huma Gel, it was a couple of veterans who had worked with chia seeds when they were out on military tours and saw that power and just decided to make prototypes when they got that. I hope I'm telling that story the right way. I met Ian, the founder, a while back, and he had a really cool story. But I think the cool thing is that there is a low barrier to entry. So if you find one of these problems, you can, if you want to commit to it and really take that leap of faith, you can solve it.
It's very cool.
How many? Yeah, thank you for sharing. How many iterations of Enerza did you go through to get the first one to market?
That so that's maybe where there is a little bit of a higher barrier to entry if you want to make a really good product, right? So what we did with Enerza was we had this kind of rough idea of the product concept and some of the problems that we wanted to solve. And then we did over 1,000 product samples where we gave it to endurance athletes. We had it have them tested in a workout and we got their feedback. And then we played with the varying levels, either taking ingredients out completely, adding new ones in, all based on that feedback that we were getting from the athletes. So it wasn't like we just had an idea and brought it to life that 3 to 6 months later, right? That's just the production timeline. We really needed to get our formula down first and make sure that we were creating something that truly was elevating the market out there before we brought it to life. So that's the piece that truly does take time. I think the R&D is the biggest piece of this. It's not actually the production. The R&D is what's incredibly important, and that's the real barrier. Because anyone can white label a nutrition product. You could go out and you could have your protein powder. You could have a white label pre-workout mix. You could have all of it. You could have the full line in a month. But actually going out and investing in the R&D is the real barrier.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What's the Nick, when you get into your mind's eye, you see like the Enerza has made it moment, what does that look like for you? Is it like, the Enerza logo at the starting line of the Boston Marathon, or crossing the finish line at Western States, or like what's the like Enerza has arrived moment for you?
I've honestly I've had this answer down for probably since we launched. I've known what it is, and it's that you could go to any race and you would see someone using the product.
Yeah.
If it is at it is at any race you go to and you see someone using a nose up, the same way you see somebody using, their Morton or even it's like Gatorade, drinking it before the race. Like if you see it at any race, that's the moment that I know that it's made it.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Your local turkey trot 5K, your Boston Marathon. Absolutely. That's very cool.
ubiquitous across all races. That's really really neat.
Yeah.
What's next in the R&D pipeline for you guys? Do you have any other products coming up, or like another flavor? What's next?
I was just looking around because I just had the carb mix in my room. I think I brought it back downstairs earlier. But have a carbohydrate and electrolyte mix. So it's in one, carb and electrolyte. That will hopefully be releasing by the end of the summer. So I've gotten some initial prototypes back. Really happy with the start. There's some slight tweaks that we want to make, but the formula and the way that it settles and goes down, no GI distress. Super happy with the way that's coming out. And then I've also just finalized a formula on a recovery mix and got that deposited in, have samples coming out on that on the way. So the big 2.0 is kind of why I referred to it earlier, is it'll be a product line of the carb fueling mix, the flagship pre-workout, and then the recovery mix. So we'll have kind of the full training stack covered. Your daily training, your carbohydrates and fueling, the pre-workout for that extra oomph when you really need to perform, and then the recovery mix to get you ready for that next session.
Very cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. What's the format? Sorry for lack of a better term. for the carb and electrolyte mix? Is it a powder? Is it a gel? Is it like a shot format? Like, how does that look?
So all three are powdered supplements right now. So everything is a drink mix. So I actually played around today with combining the carb mix and the pre-workout mix together. Worked super well. But the idea is that with it being a drink mix, you can put it into your bottle, you put it into multiple bottles, and it's super easy to take on the go with you. That way, you just prepare it at home beforehand.
Love that.
That's so cool. What are you doing to help educate users around clean fueling and clean energy? Is that part of your marketing strategy? I know it's part of like kind of your ethos, but how are you disseminating that information across to users and consumers?
100%. Right now, I'm using my personal platform a lot and trying to really speak to it on, Instagram, TikTok, wherever I'm putting out videos. I haven't found the formula to like do all of that education in the best way possible. I think I'm still experimenting with different messaging, and as long as it still stays true to that ethos that you mentioned, trying different ways to word it and explain how Enerza is different, what we're relying on with the science. Um, but I think what I'm going to start doing is start leaving that to the experts. Part of the benefit to having and working with Amelia is going to be that I can have her write up a blog post, right? I can have her write up guides, and have her speak to it in the best way possible because she has experience working with endurance athletes hand in hand and explaining these things to them. I'm coming from it from the business side. She does that for her job, and she has been trained to do that. So historically, it's been me just rambling like I'm doing with you guys right now, but I'm going to start leaving it to the pro.
Very cool.
That's really neat. Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
We still want to hear from you though, Nick.
I appreciate you. Hey, I'll keep yapping. If you guys let me yap, I'm gonna keep yapping.
You got to show your face on social media. We still need our fix of Nick for sure.
I mean, that's how we connected, brother. So yeah, you can't fully disappear on us.
No, that's a great point. Like it really has. There was that month where I was posting every single day, and so I want to get back in more of a regular routine. But during that, I met you, Alex. I met other people that just slid into my DMs and became big fans of the brand because of that 30 days. And so definitely a lot of power in sharing personal stories. People connect with stories, not products. They connect with people.
Yeah, I think this is so cool because for us, it's a huge passion to give a platform to these smaller niche brands who are founded by runners and like care deeply about running, and not just from a like crank out the dollars, the room of people in suits, just making money off the runners. So, like, you kind of get those images in your head sometimes, you know what I mean? And I think our audience will love hearing from somebody who is in the trenches running and making a great product. And that's genuinely what Aktiv is all about, is showing people and giving a place for people to find what's next, what's the future. Pre-workout, this is new, this is cool, you know what I mean? I think it's very, very in line with what Aktiv is doing.
Yeah, it's authentic.
100%. And not to go like too far into it or anything like that, but I know also like part of your guys' mission is helping companies like me understand and converse with these customers as well. And that is really cool too, that I can help like have those relationships and get their feedback. When I'm making these products, like I mentioned, to bring the pre-workout to life, we did 1,000 prototype samples and we gathered feedback. Feedback is so important in the product development process. So to also be able to utilize that feedback in a new way and gather it in a new way is another incredible thing you guys are doing. So love that as well.
Appreciate that. I'll even take it one step further, and this is kind of where we're going, is to be able to attach the product to the metrics that people are generating while they're running, right? So you can get not just subjective, but objective to say, hey, you started this new, call it Enerza supplement. And wow, it looks like your, average heart rate is 10 beats lower on this run because you're feeling appropriately, let's say. I mean, it's a piece of the puzzle, right? We're trying to make sense of the chaos and give people some objective data, including, the companies that we're working with, arming them, with the objective data on product. So yeah.
Interesting story. So the keynote speaker at the expo for the Knoxville Marathon was Ryan Hall, who has the record in the marathon.
Yep.
He shared this story about how he wanted to test out super shoes. And so what he did was he set the treadmill to the same pace and did alternating mile reps with super shoes on, with old school trainers on, super shoes, old school trainers, and just looked at his heart rate, how it changed, right? The data that you get from these products, like if he's doing that same thing and using the data to test the products, like you're onto something huge, right? Like that's something that Ryan Hall is just testing on the treadmill, but you're making it simple and easy for people to do that and get that data with the products. It's really cool. Like it's useful for the consumer as well.
Yeah, we're having fun with it for sure. And for us, at this point, the most fun part of it is connecting with great people like you, connecting with our users who are uploading activities and the cool things that they're doing. So yeah, it's been a dream for us.
Yeah, it's really just putting data to work for you. I mean, it should be an asset for both the consumer and the brands when it can be mutually beneficial. So we are absolutely so thankful and loving the position that we're in, because we're able to connect with awesome people like you and share the story and bring users to a really authentic product that is designed for them.
Absolutely. Nick, where do people go to get Enerza? How do people connect with you? Shout that out for us.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's at Enerza, ENERZAFUEL, Enerza Fuel. www.enerzafuel.com. My personal Instagram is Nick Regas, Regas. I feel like that covers some of the major bases there.
Yeah, we'll make sure to distribute that when we send this all out.
And are you selling your product direct to consumer right now through the website?
Yep. Selling through the website. If you got any listeners in Nashville, we're in the Exchange Running Collective and Team Nashville, 2 stores here in Nashville locally. But if you're listening to this in your running store and you're interested in carrying a product like this, also trying to expand the retail presence a bit. So open to some of those new opportunities, and I'm going to start that reach out process here soon as we're moving into the next phase with the full product line.
And product, can I say this? Maybe available on Aktiv?
Oh, I mean,
it's in the works.
Okay.
Nick's going to be our first official partner. Yes.
I just put Nick on the spot majorly.
Oh, no. Yeah. Alex and I have been working on it.
I look forward to that day. I think it's going to be really cool. Once again, it's like products that are elevating the experience of running. And so, yeah, I think it's a good fit.
And what I love best is it's not gatekeeping. It's a product meant for everybody. Like Nick is an authentic person trying to just help runners.
Yep.
Like not this certain cohort of runners or, my tribe over here. It's just, I want to make a great product for people to have a better run.
Yep.
And that is beautiful.
I mean, where else can you root for the founder of your running supplement in the Boston Marathon this coming week?
Exactly.
Like, that's pretty cool.
And just hype this dude up. Let's go.
Yeah. Do we, Nick, this is maybe a little personal, but do we have a goal time for Boston?
Sir, yeah, it's yeah. I've put it out there a little bit. I like to throw my goals out there. It keeps me accountable. So 2:20 is the time that I laid out, probably like back in the winter. And I ran a 2:26 on a really hilly course, not going all out in Knoxville a little over a week ago. So I feel like I'm in the right spot. It's not going to be easy by any means. It's going to hurt a lot, but I feel like I'm ready to do it. So I'm excited to give it my best effort.
Body, you feel like you're in fighting shape right now? Like good to go?
I could throw a couple punches. Yeah,
good.
I'm ready. I'm ready for
Love
it.
that.
Wow.
That's really exciting. We will be rooting for you. We will follow along. We'll be rooting for that 2:20, man. That'll be incredible.
Let's go,
yes,
brother.
Sir.
Have
So
a blast.
Thank you, guys.
Anything
Thank
else
you.
before we close? Anything else you want to share? We
No,
miss
this
you.
was fantastic. I loved, like you told me it was going to be kind of free flowing and conversational. Loved all the things we covered. This was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you,
Thank
Nick.
you for joining. Thank you for your time, Nick. And like I said, we'll be rooting for you. Good luck.
Let's go, man.
Thank you guys.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.